Welcome back. Thank you for staying with me. To take this a little further, I'll share a few thoughts with you about the importance of right emotions for right actions. Now hear this. Nothing puts a person in a position of victory in the battles of life like a state of mind that is coordinated. A state of mind that is calm, at rest, excited, motivated, and unperturbed. Any person that has peace and joy has probably the most fascinating facility for winning any mental and spiritual battle, and that includes the battle against addiction, against compulsion, against depression, suicidal thoughts, and other vices. Now, it's important to remind you that peace and joy are not the absence of pain and peril. Peace and joy does not mean that there are no setbacks. Like I've been said, peace and joy are that unperturbed excitement in spite of or in the midst of pain and peril. Now it is that comportment, that internal comportment, that now enables you to conquer the external turmoil. So once you have the internal under control, you can overcome everything that is. In fact, what happens is that your external will always adjust and take the shape of your internal state. Therefore, as you face the battles of life, it is better to concentrate more on your state of mind than the state of things. Because if your state of mind is under control, is intact, is unperturbed, is motivated, is excited, it's just a question of time. Your environment will adjust to your mentality. It is so important. Therefore, in dealing with the battle against addiction, in winning that battle against depression, against everything, compulsion, same-sex attractions, stubborn lifestyles, the first thing you want to do is to pursue and experience a restoration in your mind, your mental health. Your state of mind is so important because you actually need a sound mind in a sound body to live a sound life. A sound mind. When you are at peace with yourself, when you are at peace with your situation, it's an incredible asset. I cannot overemphasize that. This peace, in spite of pain and peril, I can tell you for free, is not humanly possible. That is why we need the enabling of the Almighty if we are going to achieve it. It is why the Bible describes it as a peace that passeth understanding, because under normal circumstance, people cannot explain why somebody will be in such kind of crisis, in such turbulence. It's like Jesus sleeping in the boat while the storm was on. Nobody does that. It's unimaginable for somebody to be calm. It reminds me of Daniel being taken to the lion's den, and instead of negotiating, calling for help, trying to contact top political personalities, the confidence, the candor, the comportment with which Daniel walked down to the lion's den creates a lot of suspicion. He must have had some conversations, he must have done some things with the Almighty God to be able to develop that kind of peace of mind with which he was relaxed and walked with them into the lion's den. I'm not surprised at what the outcome was, because at the end of the day, we can only achieve this if we make peace with God. Because the side effect of making peace with God is that you will experience the peace of God. Peace of God is the consequence of peace with God. So how do you go about this? The first thing you want to do is to establish or re-establish a relationship with God. And the way to establish a relationship with God is to accept God's truth and align with that truth. The question now will be, so what is the truth of God? The truth of God is that when God made man, the rules of engagement were very clear. God said to man, don't eat so and so and so fruit, for the day you eat of this fruit, the only way out is death. The day you eat of this fruit, the situations that will arise therefrom cannot be fixed by anything but death. You do it, your life goes forward. And that brings us to the concept of substitutionary death. Because as soon as man sinned, God, in his love for man, swung into action and introduced substitutionary death as a temporary solution. Because without substitutionary death, man will be annihilated, extinguished, completely wiped off instantaneously. There was a permanent plan for redemption, but before the time for that, in the intermediate, God had to introduce substitutionary death. What that means is that you can now present an animal as a substitute for yourself, but temporarily. Temporarily because animal blood, no matter how many of those animals you present, could not equal human blood and was not sufficient as a permanent substitute except for a short period of time. So people bring an animal, they put their hands on the animal, make some declarations that transfers, that invokes the law of substitution on that animal, and then that animal is killed in their stead to preserve their lives, to extend their time of mercy and grace until such a time. And then that has to be repeated again and again. That's what happened before the death of Christ. Every time an individual sinned, they died by presenting a substitutionary animal. When it came to the nation of Israel as a whole, every year the high priest had to present a designated amount of animals for some kind of atonement for the entire nation. Now this had to be done every single year for the nation, and then every single time you sin for the individual. That way a provision was made to position us in such a way that we can begin to operate temporarily in the class of God. I'll be right back.